It doesn't always work out, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes you get clicks. The last episode I did, I caught myself, not until after I posted it, of course. I had a pen. It wasn't a clicky pen. It had a lid, and I just kept opening the lid and clicking it under the table, so you just hear random clicks. I was like, what the hell is that clicking? And then I saw in the screen like a slow motion like shot, like, there it is, the pen.
The pen.
And
yeah,
I
you need a
blew
producer, man. You'll catch that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know, but
budget.
even if I had like the wherewithal on the software, because there are ways you can minimize that noise, that you can sort of cancel it out sometimes. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, you gotta get a guy.
Yeah, I need a guy. But at 25 views a vid,
What are you up to? What are you up to in the ad revenue now? $26?
No, I'm pushing $60.
$60? You can get a guy for $60.
He gets $60 every 2 years.
Listen, man, you know how many bums we've walked past in the last week or so? They'd literally rip your face off for $60. I think they could work a computer or two.
I don't want. Never mind.
There's an ex-IT bro out there that's, times are tough and he's willing to do some
bus
things.
Stop? Yeah.
You might get a producer and a little something else on the side for $60.
Yeah, it is a lot of money.
And we're in Montrose.
Yeah, I had a lot of I don't want to say experience in this area. It's not experience. I've had encounters.
We got to do 5 minutes before we talk about anything risque. We don't want you getting blocked on anything.
Yeah, we still have
4 minutes and 56 seconds to go.
3 minutes left. Yeah. All right, jabronis, we're back down in Texas, hosted by the Creature. Special guest today.
Welcome to my home.
Thanks for letting me set up shop here again.
Yeah.
It's been a fun week. I've been down here all week.
Yeah.
Doing stuff, nonsense for house hunting and what have yous.
A couple more months, so this will be a permanent thing.
Yeah, any day now. I just gotta move in and get my stuff in there and actually live in there.
And actually live in the house.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm really excited for you for the LPDS that doesn't know. You did close on the house this week.
I did, yeah. By the time you're listening to this, it'll be a done deal.
It'll be a done deal. I'm excited for you, but at the same time, I'm terrified. I think you made the biggest mistake of your life.
Why?
I'm just kidding.
But seriously, run.
No, I just think it's funny, like, every time you do something in your real life, the following week you make an LPDS episode about how stupid, like, that was. Like, oh, you went to a wedding? Well, weddings are fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I ruined the 5 minutes. We'll cut that out.
Yeah, we'll just bleep that.
Let's just believe that. I knew I couldn't do it. So now you can make an episode about why if you buy a house, it's stupid.
Yeah, and I'll have a couple months to keep people guessing. They won't know, and then I'll be in there 2 months later. They'll be like, "Wait a second." Now I remember. But yeah, I'm excited to finally get down here. I mean, it was my choice. Like,
no, I'm
doing the whole
joking,
thing of buying a house and then not living in it for a little bit.
Yeah, it's an awesome house. It's a sweet pad. I'm going to be scratching at your place now, even though I'm only 15 minutes away. I'm just going to do it anyways. We're going to have sleepovers and all sorts of activities.
Hit the sticks.
Yeah.
Other stuff probably.
So other stuff too.
Yeah, but I'm excited. It's like it's getting my life back together. Without my life's not falling apart, but I'm in this weird limbo stage right now where I'm most of my time. I work all day, and I spend most of my day in a dungeon basement right now.
Yeah, well, you've never been able to do it. You've been in the military for the last 12 years, whatever it's been, so you've never been able to do it. Financially, it's a sound move, and I mean, it makes sense. It checks all the boxes.
Yeah. So it'll be like a huge sort of like emotional weight off my shoulders once I get the house livable. Yeah. Because it's not right now.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, I owned a house, and I swear every time it was just like, was that a drip that I just heard? Something breaking. I got to get a lawn guy. I got to do this. I hated it, but more power to you. I wish you the best of luck. Yeah, I'm excited because this is a place that, like, it's move-inable. So I say it's not livable now because I don't have any stuff in there. And I'm not moving my stuff in to live in it for a while. Well, again, why don't you go downstairs and ask one of them bums if it's livable? It's more than livable for them. But the house it's functioning. It's not like I have to do anything to make it livable. It's an awesome house. And there's some little things in there little projects that I can take on that I want to take on. So it's like a perfect setup for me because it's not one of those starter homes where it's like you got to rehab the whole thing. No, it's done. And because if I don't touch anything,
it'll be fine.
It's a sweet house. I'm really excited about that patio setup. That thing is gonna be sweet.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. So those are some of the things I want to do. Is like add some more lighting, maybe put like an awning or something. Do some stuff, fire pit action maybe.
Right. Have a Nic Cage room.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That could be the studio.
Ooh, that would be a good idea.
Crazy. Or the guest room is just Nic Cage pillowcases and sheets and what have you.
Yeah, it's kind of like that motif in movies where like somebody stays at bed and breakfast and there's like those little dolls everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna have like the Nic Cage stuff everywhere.
Yeah, maybe I'll have like those dolls you're talking about where the eyes like move up and down like all weirdly because they're controlled by spirits. Yeah. Maybe I'll have a couple of Nic Cage voodoo dolls in there doing that.
Just doing the googly eye.
Yeah, trying to steal the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, but and other stuff too.
And of course. Let's just get right into the do here, and step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right. I got this weird setup because we don't have a desk here to put my computer on.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's not your fault.
Well, it is 100% my fault. We had a desk in here, but playing Halo
aggressive
and
sticks.
I may have. Or I definitely did punch a hole through it several times, and it's no longer.
It is corrugated.
It is gone. It does not exist. It is definitely my fault.
But I got I went old school today with the handwritten notebook instead. So, all right. Today's Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by Bum Dumps Disposal Unit. If you live in a city, I'm sure you're tired of having to play Jump the Dump while going for a walk because all the bum dumps are taking over the sidewalks. Well, now you can do something about it by joining the Bum Dumps Disposal team and taking back the walks. By being part of the BDDD, you'll be equipped with a custom dump digger that's specifically engineered to scoop up even the biggest of bum dumps. So to join the team today, call 1-800-TURD-TERMINATOR, and if you use the code BOWELBUSTER, you'll get a 2.9% tax exemption off of your taxes next year. So you're essentially getting paid to do a service that nobody else is willing to do.
I mean, you can't beat that. And let me tell you, we could use some bum dump removal.
We can use disposal real bad around these parts.
Mm-hmm. A lot of bum dumps.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a sec. Let's knock the cage fact out real quick, because I have a lot to say about it.
I'm really excited about that part of the show.
So the cage fact, I'll pop the picture up here if I can find it again. I think I saved it already. But Nic Cage, we discussed several episodes ago that he was doing this movie called Dream Scenario. And they're holding everything kind of tightly under wraps on like the storyline, what it's supposed to be. I think it's some sort of a comedy type of thing, but they really have been keeping everything close to the chest. Well, a bunch of regulars, like citizens, saw them filming in Toronto, and they got a picture of Nic Cage in his role, and he is a balding guy in the role. So they snapped a picture of him looking like a full Costanza with like the cul-de-sac hairdo, and you can't tell if he shaved his head for the role or if it's like prosthetics, like wiggery, if you will.
I bet he shaved his head.
I think he did.
He's committed.
Anything that anybody who knows Nic Cage knows that he commits to the role.
Yeah. Well, first he has to learn what it's like to have that kind of haircut.
Right.
Before he can play a guy with a haircut.
Right, and he probably interviewed a couple of Costanza types, and then he started living the role of a guy who is, seemingly losing everything.
Right.
And we've, some of us have been there.
Been there.
Some of us have not. But
I'm really excited about his new the vampire movie.
Renfield,
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple. Obviously, Nic Cage is the star of the show, and that has most of my attention. But some of the supporting cast as well. They got some pretty good characters in there.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it goes because it's about Renfield, but Nic Cage plays Dracula, and he's sort of like the leading man in the movie. So I think it's supposed to be like Dracula is the protege or vice versa. I don't exactly know the storyline.
Yeah, they haven't really released a whole lot on the plot. I just saw the casting list on there, and they got some pretty good guys in there. But it's supposed to be like a dark comedy, same thing, kind of like. I don't know if it's a dark comedy is the right word, but like What We Do in the Shadows, that kind of show on FX, like the same kind of like
motif.
Yeah,
is that a word?
It is.
It is now. Pistols. But yeah, so I'm excited to see what that movie's about.
Yeah.
There's a couple other heavy hitters in that movie. I forgot their names off the top of my head. But
the guy who's in Parks and Recreation, Aziz Ansari's friend, that guy, that little...
John Ralphio?
Yes, he's in it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's in it.
That's exciting.
I know.
So,
that's what I'm saying. They got a good cast, so I'm really looking forward to that movie.
John Ralphio and his sister, Mona Lisa Saperstein, in the show in Parks and Rec. Me and my sister always joke that that's how we are.
Oh, yeah?
How we were as kids. Because I think they're supposed to be like twins.
Right.
And when my sister and I were younger, we looked way more alike than we do now. We just weren't, pieces of shit like those two are in that show. Yeah. But he's a good actor. He's in that show Space Force, too. Yeah. With Steve Carell.
He does a show, now I can't remember the name. It's like Schwartz and something else. It is an entire improv show, but it's not like SNL, like short skits. It's like an hour long. This is like a full featured movie, and everything is improv, and they are so freaking good at it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking
about.
The
other guy's in Silicon Valley. I forget his name, but he's the other guy. It's Ben Schwartz and the guy from Silicon Valley. It's just them two, and they are freaking awesome. I highly recommend.
Silicon Valley. What does he look like?
Oh God, he's just.
He's not
like
the Indian guy.
No. He's like the main character in Silicon Valley.
Oh, the skinny guy.
Yeah.
Not Cumberbatch. Middleditch.
Yes.
Middleditch. Yeah,
Middleditch and Schwartz. That's what it's called.
That's what it is. Yeah, they're really good.
Oh yeah, I highly recommend. I know improv sounds kind of like tacky and cheesy. It is freaking awesome.
Right. I was just thinking that, like, when you think of improv, you think of those like completely not funny garbage shows, or like you go see it in an improv play.
Right. It changes your spectrum of what's funny. Like, yeah, it's funny for improv. It's not funny for like other stuff, like a movie.
Right.
But these guys are awesome.
Yeah, because they're pros who are now sort of like using their brains to think of something on the spot and make it funny.
Right.
But they know what funny is.
Right.
Some of these other jabronis don't know what funny, like Michael Scott.
Right.
He was not great at improv.
He was not great at improv.
But, yeah, those guys are good. So
yeah, that
whole thing will be a good motion picture.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Cage classic instantly. So, all right, we'll just spin it up into the Junction logo.
All right.
Speaking of dumps.
That's today's Junction, folks.
I don't know what it's going to
skip this episode.
It's got to be probably centered mostly around bum dumps and dumpery in general.
I'll tell you, jump a dump almost had me there. I was losing it.
I put it in quotes like it's a game.
Jump a dump.
But that's what it was. We were getting our steps in. I mean, that's what we do when we hang out or just in life is sticks and steps and whatever other stuff we can do in our lives.
Fortunately, I live in the part of town where if we want to go grab a cup of coffee or grab something to eat, whatever, the walkability here is awesome.
It's really good.
You really don't have to get in your car and drive anywhere. You can kind of walk everywhere.
Right.
So it's like a double whammy. Like, all right, we're going to get our steps in, but also we're going to do stuff as well.
Yeah.
So we're walking around town.
And even if we're not getting something like food or whatever, we're walking and finding other places to knock off the list later on. Right. So we were exploring, and we saw several dumps. The first one was the one on the sidewalk.
Yeah, that was a bomb.
It was a bomb of a dump. I should have taken a picture, but then we would have to censor it. It would have been too gruesome.
We're going to post a picture right here.
Yeah, we're going to post the dumps right here. But it was on the corner of a sidewalk, like by where people cross.
Yeah.
And it was sidewalk and then road right there.
Yeah.
There was no shrubbery, no trees, nothing to hide the dump from happening. And it looked like somebody stepped in it too.
So, somebody said it wasn't a footprint, it was a slide.
Like an oil slick. Yeah, like a Mario Kart oil slick.
Somebody burnt out.
Yeah, and then it dried overnight or something in the Houston heat because it was sort of plasticky, like it was like a wax dump.
It was like when there's like wet concrete, somebody puts their handprint in it,
and then it dries
stuck
up.
There
yeah,
forever.
It just looked like that. You could see the footprint, like the heel, and then you could see the track mark of the slide. And thank God, hopefully that person did not fall into the dump. But that was the first one, and then we were going on a walk. We were trying to roam around not the art district, the museum district, it's called, right?
Uh-huh.
And a lot of bums there.
Yeah, you'd think.
Very bummy.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if it's because there's a lot of cover, or that, I don't know.
It was way more, I don't want to say seedy, but definitely it wasn't as, I had a different opinion of what it was going to be until we got there.
Yeah.
It was a lot different.
It looked an awful lot like most of those museums were some sort like government funded, like state funded or whatever. Mm-hmm. And when they do that, like we were discussing earlier, they do it in the military all the time. If it's funded by the government to build buildings for any reason, whether it's museums or bases or what have you, they find the cheapest land to do it on. And they make the deals with the towns like, hey, we'll build this in the ghetto, and they sell the lie like, oh, that'll build up the infrastructure, it'll create more jobs because the base will be 10,000 people and it'll fill up every blah blah blah, and it never works that way, because when, at least on the military side, when they build bases, either people like live on the base and stay on the base, or they'll find jobs and live farther out so that they don't have to exist in the dump.
Right.
So that's what that museum district very much resembled to me, was like these nice, cool looking museum buildings and like a nice little park area right in the middle of it all. And then everything surrounding it was closed up businesses, like debauchery, like litter everywhere.
Right. Well, maybe, like they say in real estate, it's all about location, location, location. Maybe that applies to the bums too. Like they want to get into the museum district and kind of put their flag in the ground, like this is mine.
Mingle with the artsy fartsy types, because they know that they won't get kicked out. They'll all empathize with them, so they'll hang around.
Could be.
Technical difficulties? No, I think we're good. We good, folks? We're good.
Are we good?
Stand by. All right, I think we're back for now. All right, are we back? Are we back? Hello? Testing. I think we're back. Okay. Anyway, dumps.
Yeah.
We're walking around the museum district. We were walking by this building. It was it the Contemporary Museum that was closed or something like that?
It was just a white shed that said museum on it.
Right, and then there was paper signs up there that said like, for engagements, call this number.
Right.
And I was like, maybe this place is open. It's just dumpy outside. And I walked over to check the door to see if it was locked or open. And while I walked by, first I saw a bag of adult diapers, which were like unused. It was an open bag, but all the diapers were in there. So I'm not sure why they just decided to opt out of the diapies. And then I saw a dried out dump, and I'm trying to make sure folks in YouTube land, sorry about the video audio issues, but I saw a dried up dump that looked...
Sorry about the audio issues, the dump.
The dump. Back to business. It looked like the dump emoji, or like a gag gift dump you buy at Spencer's Gifts. Yeah. Or that other place, not Spencer Gifts.
There's only Spencer's.
Does it start with an E? Not Exotica's. Damn it, what's the other place called that sells all that goth crap?
I have no idea.
Damn it. Anyway, gag gift dump. Yeah. And I tried to get your attention. You were already
I don't want to see,
You're already walking by, but you happened to be walking by a bum while I was trying to get your attention. So I was like, order it. And I held back because I didn't want him
to look at this dump.
I didn't want him to get involved in the conversation.
That's mine.
Yeah, then he's just like, that's my dump. So, and I'm trying to think of the next dump I saw. I think I was by myself walking.
Well, you ran into the
guy.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Yeah.
I'm walking. So I ordered some food. And I purposely walked past the place so I can get some extra steps in. I was going to walk down about a half a mile to a mile and walk back, and then order my food midway so that by the time I am walking back, the food is being made. Blah blah blah. I don't have to wait in line, what have you. And I walk by this guy, and he was a hefty guy. He must have been like a new.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of hefty bums.
Yeah, he was pretty thick. He wasn't dirty or anything, but he was bummy, if you will, like walking like he was on something, like the jitters and what have you. And we're walking past each other on the sidewalk like this, and he goes, he's like, are you the type of guy who would help out a homeless man? Nah, never mind. Before I can even answer, because we were kind of eyes locked, and I was about to just be like, well, what do you want? What do you need? And I like to gauge, like, if he's...
That wasn't what you were about to say. You were about to say, sorry, pal, I left my wallet at home.
Yeah, no, I would have been like, please go get away from me.
Get your dumb hands away from me.
But he didn't have the approach like some of the guys do, where they just kind of jump out of the shadows and spook you. He was... hey, you want to help he said you want to help a homeless man out. So I was a little bit more curious, thinking like, well, what does he want? Does he want food? If he says I'm looking for some food,
sure.
Like maybe I can get him some food, because I know he can't go. I don't think he could go sell that food for drugs or booze or whatever.
You'd be surprised.
It could be, but
there's a border system that we don't even know about.
There could be that. That could be like cigarettes in prison.
Right.
That could be the cash. But before I can even open my mouth to answer, he's like, never mind, and he took off. I was like, that's weird. So I get to the end of my goal route, and I turn around to go back to the place to pick up my food. I turn around, I get back a block towards where we were, and I see the dude in some shrubbery outside of a parking lot, which was like a business. It wasn't like a dentist's office, but it was one of those small like medical facility type things, like a private practice. And he's in the shrubbery. He's not hidden in the shrubbery. Just his ass is inside the bush, and everything else is sticking out, facing the street.
Yeah.
And he blasts the bush, and you could see like the bush.
The leaves blow back.
Yeah, just like kind of like a blowback.
It's like somebody turn on a fan.
Yeah, and he does a little shake. I don't know if I could do it on the screen here. He does he blasts out and he goes like this.
Like a dog.
Yeah, like to get the loose dingleberries off, and then he pulls up and walks away.
This is the worst episode ever.
So what I think happened was that he was gonna ask for some money, but he didn't have
really
time.
had to go. Yeah.
But he hit the once you get outside your comfort window, when it's dump time, it's you gotta go. Yeah. So I think that's what he got the crampies. And
you should have looked in your. Let's see. What do I have? Oh, this is a button. That's not going to help you.
This is a Canadian nickel. I'm not sure if it'll help you here, but if you go up north.
Oh, 1967. That's a great year.
Yeah.
Just give me the goddamn money.
So he didn't want anything
to do with it. He had to go.
He went out and he dropped the dump.
Yeah.
And that's what it's been the entire weekend. And
lots of dumps.
A lot of dumps.
So it's been a fun weekend, but filled with that. I mean, the dumps have stole the show for us.
Yeah, they've been sort of the center of attention, because every time we try to go do something nice as brothers, we had
to play jump and dump.
Dumped on. Yeah, we did literally have to play jump and dump. But it did remind me of the last time I was here. We went to the Breakfast Club. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Breakfast Club is, I guess it's a pretty well-known place around Houston.
Yeah, it's very famous around town. I mean, if you don't get there early enough, the line is wrapped around the building twice. I mean, it is.
And I think it's breakfast and like lunch, or it's just really just breakfast, and it closes around just after lunchtime.
Right.
That's all you get. And it's no reservations, first come, first serve.
Right.
And they get you cooking. Like, they get the line moving pretty quickly.
Right.
But we got there late one morning, and we're waiting in line. And there was a lady in front of us, and she was a little hefty, solo.
Yep.
So she gets in front of us, and she gets her table first. So we could kind of see like how everything with her life plays out. Well,
she caught your eye right off the bat, and you didn't. I mean, you were locked in from then on. I think I was pretty focused on what I was going to get, because this is a breakfast place with like a different spin. Like you don't just get like, 2 slices of bacon and toast. Like you got to get. Like that I guess it's soul food, whatever. Like they have chicken wings and waffles rather than chicken and waffles. So like it's a different menu. So I was kind of focused on.
You were locked in on that.
Yeah.
I was locked in on her. She had this confidence about her. Just when we were first standing there, I don't know if it was because of what she was wearing, or just her air about her was very confident in.
Yeah, she walked in there like she was Conor McGregor. I mean,
she's been there before. Not just at the Breakfast Club, but there, like wherever she's been there before.
She's been there before.
Right, and I was just drawn to it. She goes up, she makes her order, she gets her table, because you make your order at the line like the soup Nazi, and then you get to your table, and then your food comes, you eat, and then they pretty much find a way to bully you out of there to make room for more people.
Yeah, you don't eat and then like sit back in this chair and talk for a little bit. As soon as you're done eating, get the fuck out.
It's all business. So she places her order, and then she gets up, and she goes to the bathroom. Now, mind you, the bathroom is right next to like the register area.
Yeah, it's not like one of those, like if you walk into a grocery store or something like that where it's like a big bath. It's like a small... It's
one bathroom for the whole restaurant.
Yeah, it's like a New York bathroom, like what you'd see in the city, yeah.
Right, exactly, like an individual bathroom. 15, 20 minutes she was in there.
I mean, you tell me.
About 15.
You knew her whereabouts.
About 15 minutes realistically. So you know what's going on in there. and she comes out... Again, like she's been there before.
Right.
She hits her table, eats her meal, out.
Out, yeah.
Like it was the normal operating procedure for her.
Right.
And I know she dropped a bomb in there. And for whatever reason, now dumps are nasty. Pooping stinks, it smells, it looks disgusting, it's foul. But something about this girl owning the shit out of her shit was just so attractive.
No one's gonna judge you for this.
I don't care. I don't judge away. I don't care, but just the way, because sometimes if I have to take a public dump, I'll come out like not skittish, but like, oh, I hope nobody's like, oh, I hope I don't open the door and everyone's looking at me like, you took a dump.
I hope there isn't a girl out there that saw me waiting in line, has been fixated on me for the last 30 minutes
entire time.
And noticed that I took a dump.
Right. She didn't care.
Yeah.
If she saw me looking, she probably would have given me finger pistols.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know.
She came out there so confidently, like, I know exactly what I just did, and I don't care. I placed my order, and I knew exactly how much room I needed, and I made that room. And now I'm going to enjoy this meal. It was so, I don't know, again, I'm making an assessment that she took a dump in there.
She's in there.
She definitely, unless she took a nap, like unless she fell asleep in there.
You know, sometimes you like to wake, you want breakfast, you go back to sleep and wake up to...
Yeah, but there was just something about it that was just the confidence that she was exuding was so attractive. And that would be the first time I probably ever in my life where you can make the connection between a dump and me being attracted to anything. Like, and I don't know why.
No judging. I mean, again, whoever does it for you.
While we're talking about dumps, that's what came to my mind was that
the old hot stove.
The old hot stove, and that's what I kind of we started BSing about it a little bit. And now I don't know who makes submissions to Urban Dictionary.
I think it's a free-for-all. I think anybody can do it.
If you can, the LPDS might make a submission for the hot stove.
The hot stove.
Which is now going to be defined as you order a meal and you go to said bathroom and you drop a hot stove to make room for that meal. And it's very technical. You have to order the meal first.
Right, yeah.
So you know exactly what you're about to intake, so you know what you have to outtake.
And you got to, the timing's got to be perfect so that when you come back, your food's there waiting for you, or it's being placed in front of you. Everything worked out perfectly. Yeah. She had it all figured out. And it was almost like, at that point, I didn't even care that it was a dump. Because everything was perfectly aligned. Right.
And I think that was what it was just like...
You appreciate the punctuality and just like the overall efficiency of the whole process.
The preparation and science behind it all was just astounding.
Yeah.
It was really good.
You're a military man. You like people who do things,
Yeah, I was born into a regimented lifestyle.
Right, and she has it.
And I also get it because I schedule my life out.
I thought you were going to say something different other than life.
Well, to include dumps. And so I know that if I have a meeting for work or if I have to go be somewhere and I see the timing of it all, I know, I have to adjust my schedule accordingly to make sure I'm not in the middle of an important meeting or an interview or a tour of a house and I'm late for my scheduled appointment. So she did not look like she was scrambling, and it was not a contingency like I have to step to the next in the plan. Mm-hmm. She this was part of the plan.
She was very easy breezy. She knew what she was doing.
Yeah, and that was so hot. Like something about that was just.
I didn't find her that attractive, but whatever does it for you.
No, I didn't find her like physically. From what I like, as far as like what I'm attracted to, woman-wise, initially that wasn't there. I think it was like that aura she had around her of like, I own this.
Well, that could have been a good icebreaker if you wanted to go talk to her. You could have said like, "So,
I was too
feeling better."
Yeah, I was too intimidated. It was like she would have eaten me up and spit me out, or shat me out, hot stoved me right out.
Can you sit down real quick? I'll be right back in 20 minutes. Yeah. I gotta go make room for you.
Yeah. I would have sat there and waited. I think I would have at that point.
Yeah.
But.
Well, I think we lost about 3/4 of the listeners, which
yes.
I don't think LPDS is in a position to do.
No, listen. If you don't like this conversation, this is as real as it gets, folks. If you don't
Terrence family show.
Yeah. Tell your son to go to sleep.
Unless he wants to hear about bum dumps.
Yeah, he's gonna have to know about it eventually.
I mean, he's gonna come across it at some point.
Yeah, you don't want him to be the heel strike and oil slick on the sidewalk one day. So
yeah, you don't want that.
But another thing that came to my mind earlier throughout this week, and then that story with that girl. Kind of recycled that thought, was like, we've also seen a lot of people around here doing things solo.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because this is a pretty like young demographic and a singles demographic, but people are living their lives without having to be part of a group. Like, how, especially at least in college for me, definitely in high school, I wasn't going out if it wasn't with people.
Right, yeah. You don't want to be the guy who's like checking the weather on your phone just to keep yourself busy.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like I always wanted to be like the guy confident enough to go hang out in the diner by himself all the time. He was like, who's that mystery man at the bar?
Right.
I was never that guy.
I've only done that a few times in my life where I've gone out to eat by myself. It's kind of weird, but it kind of depends on how they receive you, I guess. Like when you walk into a restaurant, because I've done it at like an actual restaurant, I'll be like, oh, just one. And it's almost like Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where Jonah Hill's like, really, just one?
Right.
I've had that scenario happen to me. I'm like, yeah, what's the big deal? And then other times like, oh yeah, just go sit by the bar, and it's not that weird. Yeah.
So usually I'll go now if it's no matter where it is. If there's a bar I always ask like, can you order food at the bar? Oh yeah, then I'll just go there.
And it's really not that weird. They got TVs. There's usually people sitting there as well. They'll probably talk to you. It's not so bad.
Yeah, I think in the movies they make it look way more normal than than it feels in real life.
Yeah.
Because in movies, when there's a bar scene, there's always somebody solo.
Right.
Like that's how the meet cutes are always happening. And Ryan Gosling in Crazy Stupid Love is always alone at the bar until he meets his next lass, if you will.
Sure.
So I noticed that a lot around here, but I still get that feeling. And we were discussing it earlier because we saw somebody. We went to dinner earlier tonight, and at the burger joint we were at, we saw someone walking by themselves. And my instant reaction is like, oh, that person's by themselves. I kind of feel bad. Maybe I should invite them to come,
Well, it wasn't just they were by themselves. I mean, they looked sad.
Like, that person did look sad.
It was like the sad music theme playing.
Yeah, they were
with
looking
their shoulders
for a seat, hunched over.
Yeah.
Clearly by themselves, not waiting for somebody or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I feel like that. Like, how come when I go out by myself, I'm completely fine. Like, yeah, I'm just going to the diner. That's it. But when I see somebody doing that, I'm like, oh, man, I wonder if they need a friend.
Well, I think it depends on how you walk in. It's just like the girl in her dump, in her hot stove. If you walk in there like you've been there before, it's I don't know, it's just an air of confidence.
I think so. But I also kind of feel like I felt like a piece of shit internally after we saw that person. Afterwards I was like, why did I just assume this person was sad and lonely? This person definitely had the look.
Especially because it was a busy restaurant, so there wasn't a lot of places to sit. So this person was walking around alone, looking sad, and also in a panic because they couldn't find a place. They had a tray full of food and nowhere to sit.
Yeah.
And I think that was a separate situation.
I think so. But it made me think about all the other times where I still had that feeling even a little bit until somebody hot sells, and then it's a different feeling.
Right.
But I see that, and I don't know why I feel like that.
I don't know. It really isn't that weird. Like I said, I've done it a few times. Like I was in Fort Myers for the last 4 years, and I made friends at work, but not any real friends that I'd hang out with. So, you kind of just do your own thing, and however you can get out there. And it's just tough because I mean, like you said, it's not like in the movies where you're going to sit at the bar and meet somebody. Chances are you're probably going to sit there, eat your food, and then just leave.
Right. Yeah, and you're not really going out to like a diner or a burger joint or something to go meet. Like,
to go meet people, you're going there to to eat your food and get the hell out of there.
Yeah, there's a different objective in mind.
Yeah.
But that was something, again, another thought I had was like, you've been doing this down here for a little while now, several months in Houston, and also probably a little bit in Fort Myers and in New York when you were up there.
Yeah. Well, there was nowhere to go in New York, so.
Yeah, that's a different story. I would have hunkered down.
I was on suicide watch for those 4 years.
Yeah, that was a tough one. For everyone, it was touch and go there for all of us.
It was more go than touch. I don't know.
Well, there was probably a lot of touching too.
It was definitely a lot of touch and go. I was being real naughty.
Yeah,
as Sticks would say.
As Nicky Sticks would say, a little self-treat. But do you? This is sort of same subject, sort of not. Do you try to make friends with people at work so you have a social circle, or are you able to continue a happy life living like in your own space?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely the second one. The latter or the former, I don't know. I don't get ahead of myself. I'm the latter. The latter. Yeah, that was the second one. Okay.
Rose such a
I didn't. I didn't have a lot of confidence in that one. No, I have my social circle that has been made 12 years 12 years ago, 2000, more than that, 2008, when I met all you guys. I'm friendly with guys at work, but I don't know. I don't think that I'm really trying to build any friendships with them, especially because with my job, I could pick up and leave anytime I want. So for me, it's just like, I have my friends, and also I have my own thing that I do that I'm good. Yeah.
Well, and you're still able to live like, again, a happy life and a disciplined life. You work out constantly. You do stuff to fulfill your life in other ways too, like take up hobbies, whatever it is, like go to sporting events, whatever it is, and things are okay. I sort of come in from a different side of the house where everywhere I've been in my adult life since college has been, I'm technically like going to a new place, but I got lucky in the first couple years to be stationed in the military with people I was already friends with.
Right.
And we just happened to work together. And then recently, my last couple years in the military, well, when I was living in Maryland, I had the Bone Crusher living in the same area, which was great. And then other folks like Matt Steele, the Weasel, he lived an hour or two away, and Scotty, our other friend, lived kind of nearby. So it was also like half. I had my friend circle there, sort of, and I was kind of closer to family. But now, this is why I started thinking about it. I will be living on my own, and my job is remote work. And I always made it a point in the past that I don't really make friends with people at work unless they're cool and we just organically become friends.
Right.
I don't look around a new job office.
That's kind of how I do it too. Yeah, I don't I need to make some friends here. It's usually like some of my closest friends that I made at work was at Elmira. Like I said, this is the place in New York where we're all miserable. We're all thinking about killing ourselves, and that kind of misery kind of like brought us together. And I've met a lot of good friends in that way. So it kind of just happened. But I didn't go to Elmira thinking like, wow, I really need a circle of friends I can hang out with.
Right. So that was sort of something like when I started thinking about it, I was like, oh crap, what am I gonna do? I mean, I'm lucky that you'll be around. I do have friends from college already living around here.
Yeah.
But I mentally I took a lot of pages out of your book of like, you have your friend circle, which is currently not around here in the Texas area, and you're still living.
Yeah, I mean, you just find things that make you happy, and I don't know. I've always felt that I could be happy on my own. Some of the hobbies that I have, I guess I'm not even really a hobbyist anyways. I'm kind of just like what do I feel like doing today? And I'm just gonna go do that. I don't have like a set, like, this is my hobby that I do when I'm not working or doing something else.
Right.
So I don't know. That kind of lifestyle works for me. I know it's not for everybody, but if I'm by myself for the rest of my life, I'll be just fine. Like that's never been a worry of mine. I do like having other people around me too. I think I don't know if I'm necessarily like a recluse. I do like having other people around me, and it's certainly more fun. But I found things that work for me doing them by myself as well.
Yeah. When you say people around you, are you kind of like how I am? Is I like going to do things solo a lot, but being in society doing it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. I mean, like getting out there and maybe going to, like, I'd go to an Astros game by myself, and that wouldn't be a big deal. Obviously, again, it'd be like once you move here and we do that stuff together, it's going to be a lot more fun. But yeah, I mean, I could do stuff like that all the time by myself. I've been to a couple of museums. I've gone to that Holman's Draft Bar, just a nice place to grab a drink, and when the weather is nice, shit like that.
Yeah, watch a game or whatever.
Yeah.
Just immerse yourself in society without feeling obligated to I have to talk to people. I have to have a friend circle and this and that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never felt that kind of pressure or anything like that. Like I said, I know not everybody's like that, but I'm just fine kicking it by myself. That's not a problem.
Do you? Because, like I said, I think you have a pretty disciplined lifestyle in general. Like, you're not. I haven't seen you go weeks at a time being like a shitbag or lazy and getting off like the things that make you happy in life, whatever they may be. Do you listen to any podcasts or watch or read any books or watch people that keep you on the track? Because one of the things that, this is sort of like the context why I'm asking, for me, building that discipline in my life in anything, I need a couple of those like motivational like sparks to get me into a routine, and then once I'm in the routine, I'm set for years at a time. Do you have any of those? Like, did you need any of those sparks of like a motivational speaker or a guy that's like constantly talking about like, this is what I did every day, and this is what you got to focus on, blah blah blah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I went through ebbs and flows just like anybody else. I have gone through extended periods of time where it's like the dark side of things where, like I said, those 4 years in New York, I joke about it now, but that was really tough. Even before that, when I first graduated Embry-Riddle, I have a bachelor's degree in air traffic control, and I did not get hired by the FAA for almost 3 years.
Almost 3 years,
and I couldn't find a job, like, to keep me busy for a while. I was living at my parents' house, wouldn't recommend that. Like, if you ever are in Orlando, don't stay at my parents' house. You'll get sucked right in, and you'll want to blow your freaking brains out too. So I've had some moments where I did fall out of my routine, and I've been playing baseball my whole life, and that ended abruptly, after my senior year. So that was taken away from me. You guys are, Phil's, from Virginia. You're from Jersey. All my friends moved away. Bonji's from Atlanta. So I didn't have you guys either. So yeah, I've gone through some dark times as well where I did lose that. I'm trying to think of how I found myself out of that. I have read some books along the past.
Yeah.
some Don't Kill
Myself books.
They were for a friend.
Yeah, you glanced at.
Yeah. One of the books I actually read, and it's sort of like a joke book, if you will, but there actually is an important message there. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. That's the name of the book. And there's like some really important messages in there where it's like, it doesn't teach you to not give a fuck about anything. It teaches you how to prioritize the things you give a fuck about, because you can't possibly care about everything.
Right.
Not everything is that important. So, you can kind of prioritize what is important to you. But I don't know if I've ever had like a David Goggins sort of like, get off your ass, you fat piece of shit, and go run 25 miles.
Yeah. Have you read his book?
No, I haven't. I'm sure it's insane.
Yeah. I do have a little bit of a problem with that Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck book.
Go ahead.
And here's what it is. Well, the book, like that mindset that they describe, I love that.
Right.
Like,
this isn't
because
the Bible.
Prioritize,
right.
I prioritize is what you should care about, because like I've been saying this for a long time, and I think I probably learned it from Skip, our old baseball coach. Like, control the controllables.
Right.
And I took that to mean like control what I can control physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Right.
There's no sense of getting worked up in any of those three facets if you getting worked up is not going to affect the outcome at all. What's the point? You're just wasting energy and time and whatever doing it. So that book is like a really good explanation of figuring out how to control the controllables. What I don't like about it is, it's written in like so conversational,
right?
And there's so many like little weird humble brags that the guy puts into the book of like, oh yeah, back in the day, you know, I lived a very empty lifestyle, just banging broads and this and that. Yeah, and I was always sad at the end. You know, it wasn't as good as you guys think it might be, banging thousands of women. It's like, we got it, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to hide the fact that you thought yourself a cool guy and you really weren't. God, okay. The second thing I didn't like about it was that, and this is really sort of like a credit to the author, is that book could have been like 4 pages long.
Sure, yeah.
It could have been like, and no nonsense, this is like checklist of here's what to do, repeat this stuff until it's ingrained in your muscle memory. But it was an entire 200-page book of anecdotes and stories.
Right, yeah.
And
it's a light read. It's supposed to be like a comedy.
It goes quick. It does go quick. But again, to credit to the dude, he slung the BS to fluff up the book enough, and it was like a top seller.
Sure.
So can't dog on it for that.
Right. Some of the other tools that I've used, I don't know, tools or whatever, but I do listen to a lot of podcasts. One of my favorites is Lex Friedman. I think he's freaking awesome. We were talking about this the other day. I think he's got Joe Rogan beat. I really do. I know that's a controversial opinion, but I think Lex Friedman is awesome. Yeah. And his show isn't tailored towards the things that we're talking about, but he has a variety of guests, and sometimes he'll have a guest on there that will speak on some of these things. So you pick up some tidbits along the way, like, that's an interesting way of looking at things. You know, that's an interesting lifestyle that you live, a philosophy that you have. So you can kind of pick up things like that along the way. And those are things I listen to for entertainment, but at the same time, when you pay attention to what they're saying, it could have a positive impact on you as well.
Right, and even if you're not looking for it, it gets in.
Yeah, it gets in there.
It gets in there into your brain. And another thing that I think Lex does well, and I'm a big Rogan fan, despite the fact that I'm sure people will give me crap. Some people in my family hate him.
Yeah.
I don't care though. That I think Lex does better than Rogan is he'll dig into people's opinions when even if like whether he agrees or not to get to the bottom of it.
Right.
And then he'll professionally call them out on it to kind of expose maybe like the lack of education behind an opinion.
Yeah, well, he'll challenge them.
Fault in that.
Right, yeah. Well, like, it was very famous episode on Joe Rogan when he had Kanye West on there, and Lex Friedman just had him on recently, and it was 2 totally different episodes.
Oh, yeah.
And again, obviously, things that have happened in real time have changed that. When he was on Joe Rogan, some of the events that have, taken place didn't happen at that time. But Lex Friedman really took this guy to task, whereas Joe Rogan was sort of like, again, not towards the tweets and recent like crap
malarkey that
he's been involved in, but he was still kind of like agreeable with them, and he would still kind of like schmooze them a little bit, make sure he felt comfortable. Whereas Lex Friedman like really challenged to the point where there was like a 5-minute stretch in there where they were like going at it, like it was got pretty tense. He's really good, a really good podcaster, and he really, like you said, challenges his guests rather than just make sure they're comfortable and let them spew whatever bullshit they want to spew. Yeah.
Well, here's what I like about both of those sort of approaches to interviews with controversial type figures. On the Rogan side of the house, he lets people speak.
Right.
And he lets them go for hours at a time.
Right.
So people that you might have a viewpoint of based on 5-10 second 2-minute clips you get on regular media, that you have a chance to get them talking about it more in depth. And you might still agree, but you still learn from that. And he just kind of, his approach seems to be like, I'm going to let you talk. sometimes he'll push back and disagree with people. It seems to be more with people he's close with, because he knows he can get that pushback.
Right.
But with newer guests and big time celebrities that are like skittish to get on these podcast type of platforms, he just lets them go and talk, and just like he just listens on receive mode. He'll throw a couple of like, oh, I see, just to kind of keep them going.
Sure.
And I think he does that to coax out the information to allow people to make their own opinions based off of that person's.
And he doesn't really seem to have a lot of bullet points that he wants to hit either. No. Whereas, like, you know, they might be talking about bum dumps one day. You know what I mean? Like, there's really nothing they talk about. They just roll it, and whatever discussion they have, that's what they're going to talk about. Whereas Lex Fridman more has, like, these are the things, the bullet points that I want to hit, and we're going to talk about it.
Right. But in Lex Fridman's approach, what I like is that his sort of scheme of maneuver with how he goes about either, you know, getting to the bottom of someone's opinion, whether he agrees or not, and how he kind of coaxes it out or exposes a fraud, that provides me lessons of like how I can get information from people, like how do I learn more about a person,
right?
And how do I get them to, if I'm having a discussion or debate with somebody,
right?
And without it coming to emotional blows and just name calling like it has been with, you know, every discussion in the past couple of years with some people, it's just there's always just a clashing.
Right.
He is able to disagree, get them to explain how they got to their opinion, and professionally sort of provide his insight to the point where that both people are learning from it.
Right.
Like, instead of somebody just attacking you for your opinion, like here's why you're wrong and you're a piece of garbage, and you just shut down and push back. He does it where he can disagree with you, and you can sit there and be like, oh, I guess that's a good point, and vice versa.
Right.
And you learn something from both tactics on how to do it. I learned a lot about just interacting with people.
Yeah, it's interesting how he does. You know, instead of, like you said, like really like laying into him and making him feel uncomfortable, he says, you know, things like, all right, this is what you said. Can you see why someone would perceive? And you explain it like, this is why people are angry with you, or you know, things like that, where he can kind of explain it to you to see the other side of the perspective rather than just your own.
Right, and before he goes on any sort of offensive, he allows that person to speak first.
Right.
And he gives them the chance not just to speak, but to present the case or hit their side of the story to maybe educate himself.
Yeah.
And again, I learned a lot of that from it. As you know, there's a lot of times in probably your life too, like people just fire off, you know, at the mouth, stupid crap, and the first thing you want to do is just bombard them and take action against them and shut them up. But he sits back, and he doesn't just sit back cocked and ready to just fire off at them. He sits back and takes it in, and he can adjust on the fly. If that person says something that's making sense to him, he will, you know, adjust fires essentially and be like, yeah, that's actually a good point.
Right.
I was initially thinking this, but I didn't have this information, so that now I can piece it together. And I learned a lot from that.
Right.
Just for doing like the podcast with guests or in life in general with like talking to new people.
Right. And that's the other side of things too, is like he's going into it with a certain amount of knowledge. Like, he's very well read, he's very well educated, so he's not just repeating some tweet that he heard or some, you know, bullshit video that he saw.
Some garbage. Right.
Yeah, he's actually going into it from an informed position and able to have these discussions with these people.
Yeah.
I think he's great.
No,
what about do you have any podcasts that you listen to?
Let
me tell you about mine.
I listen to a lot of Rogan. Again, mainly for the guest. Like, he always has guests. He never is a solo.
I think his wide range of people that he is on there.
It's crazy.
Like, I saw this was a long time ago, but this is when I really started to get into Joe Rogan podcast, because I got into it pretty late. But he had Macaulay Culkin on there.
Yeah.
And that's how can you not listen to that episode? You're like, this guy's got to be a freak. Turns out he's really not that crazy.
No.
But for whatever reason, I just assumed he was a freaking psychopath because of, you know, his childhood acting.
Everything. Yeah.
You know, just Michael Jackson stuff, just
all
this
stuff,
bizarre stuff. He's actually a pretty normal guy, and it's just interesting to hear about these people. We talk about all the time the Lee Remini Scientology episode.
All the Scientology ones
wild.
He had on there, yeah.
So it's just like, you know, obviously he's got a lot of MMA guys on there. He does have like a lot of doctors, you know, talk about, you know, health and science and things like that. But he also just has celebrities on there that'll just shoot the shit.
Yeah, and that's the stuff I like. he has a lot of comedians on there that they'll shoot the shit and make jokes and stuff, but a lot of times too, they'll talk about like the art of comedy and how they craft their jokes and where they, how they grow their skills and abilities, and I'm interested in that stuff too. I think that's very fascinating. And it also turned me on to other things too, like other people's podcasts, because sometimes I like to listen to things just to get a good laugh and kind of shut my brain off.
Sure. And that's Conan O'Brien for me. I freaking love his podcast.
He's great. Yeah, he's great.
I know everybody hears Conan O'Brien, they think talk show host, like, oh, he's got an actress or an actor on there who's going to promote their movie, a couple funny, not so funny bits on there,
family
roll
style,
credits.
Yeah.
This dude, I mean, listen, the guy was a writer for SNL, he's a writer for The Simpsons. He is like genuinely one of the funniest comedians in minds. He is so freaking funny.
He is incredible.
When
and
he's
the
not
show
on the
is
top,
awesome.
Yeah, it's really good. Just the way his mind works and his ability. They talk about improv as being yes and. So whatever you say, I have to say yes and then elaborate on that.
Right.
Just the way his mind works and how fast he is, he's really good.
Yeah. I like Tim Dillon.
Yeah. And
this is sort of like a combo of I can shut my brain off and just get a great laugh from him almost every episode.
Yeah.
Also, he'll go on an hour-long podcast, like his episode, and the entire thing is sarcasm.
Right.
Or it's satire. He went on an episode, like a rant about, I don't know if it was like a New York City mayor or governor, or maybe it was a mayor in California talking about like the homeless problem.
Yeah.
And he went on a sarcastic rant for an hour about how the mayor came out with his new campaign promise of dealing with the homeless by creating a giant pot and boiling water and throwing them in the pot. And the whole episode was about everything linked back to the pot they go, like dump them in the pot. Yeah. And it taught me a lot about like thinking on the fly and creating something funny and entertaining instantly and intelligently. It wasn't just like curse words and farts and stuff like that, or dumps and bum dumps. And
these are the jokes, folks.
Right. And so I like to listen to that too, because it's like a double whammy for me. It's funny and I still kind of learn something, and that's what gives me like that motivational spark, because motivation is cyclical.
Yeah,
you can't survive off of motivation.
Right,
alone.
and it can be applied to so many different things. Like, are you trying to learn a different skill? Are you trying to like improve certain aspects of your life? Like, what are you motivated to do? Right.
And so I use those as like little sparks to get me to a disciplined kind of routine in life, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whether it's on the personal side or the work side or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, and I learn a lot from you, like regardless of.
I'd love to hear the second half of this sentence. What do you learn from me?
Just how you have lived your life, like bouncing around places, literally living in places where you had no friend circle when you first moved there.
Yeah, I came here on a whim. Yeah, that's for sure.
Besides living at home when you didn't have a job, because that was like a life limbo.
That was a tough time period of my life.
That's I get that.
Yeah.
And then Elmira, when you live up north and it's like 10 months of winter and darkness, physical darkness, and then it becomes emotional and mental darkness, plus all the shit you had to deal with on the work side.
Right.
I think we discussed that previously.
Yeah. We filmed an episode in Syracuse, and we talked like in depth about how shitty that place was.
Yeah.
You guys don't know what shitty is. I promise you. One day, all of us need to take it just for kicks. Take a day trip to Elmira. Just fly out there for a day. Maybe we'll go see Cooperstown or something like that. Along the way, we'll stop by Elmira, just so you can understand what I was dealing with for 4 years. The day I got there, my philosophy was, how the hell do I get out? It took me 4 years to do it.
Yeah.
It was tough.
And you being able to get out of that and then not just exist in life, but like have a fulfilling life.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's things that we both of us always want to like improve upon.
Sure,
we want to date, we want to have a family, maybe. I don't know, like things like that. Like a family, maybe like a significant other. That counts.
I'll get a dog.
Yeah, a dog.
I hate dogs. I'm not getting that either.
Maybe a fish or a ferret.
Yeah. Something I don't get emotionally attached to.
Yeah, right. So you just doing that.
Right.
I've learned from, because it's like I said. I've gotten lucky where most of the places I've lived, even though I was going alone, I show up and it's like, oh, I know you. Now I already have a friend here, as opposed to like figuring out life around, a new place, new thing.
You take some of the things that you're talking about where you want to, air quotes, work on it, like, oh, you want a family, significant other, whatever it is. You take the silver lining of that aspect that we haven't gotten there yet as like, okay, I'm by myself. I don't have to worry about anybody else. So when I go to Fort Myers, if I don't like it, well, then I just fucking leave. I come to Houston on a whim. So far so good, but if I find out that I don't like it, then I'll get up and leave,
Yeah.
So those are the things that can help you, where you kind of use the things that are, I don't know, maybe that not the best part of your life, and use them as like areas of strength.
Sure.
Like I can improve my situation without having to worry about screwing over somebody else, because obviously you can't be that selfish when you're with somebody else, but now I can afford to be selfish and can kind of focus on those things.
Yeah, and also too, something that you do well is your happiness is not dependent on anything or anybody else.
Yeah.
You kind of control that for yourself.
Well, I think that's the way it should be, no matter what.
Well, I think that says a lot too, because how many people that you've known throughout your life, or that we both know, or that I know, that like you can very much tell that they're latching on to somebody or something that is probably not good for them, but that's because it's the only thing that makes them, like, that creates the illusion of happiness for them, because they're dependent on that.
Sure, yeah. I've heard a lot of people say that, like, oh, if I was single, I'd kill myself. Like, that's a problem, man. You should still have an identity and still have happiness on your own.
Right, not that I want to stay single and alone forever, but, like...
The other person shouldn't fill a void, because that person will never be able to fill that void.
Yes.
And then when that person isn't able to fill that void, it turns into resentment towards your partner, and that's why relationships don't last.
Yeah, they go right to the shitter.
Because you're with them to try to fill some sort of thing that's missing, and nobody else is going to be able to do that for you.
Right. No, and despite my many flaws, I love my life.
Yeah.
I think I'm very
I think
happy.
you're kick-ass, man.
Thank you. I think I love my life.
Let's get Brent on the phone and see what he thinks.
Yeah, no, I don't need the reality check right now.
Give you a slice of humble pie.
Right. Like,
just kidding, Bonds. Love you.
Yeah, a whole pie. But
he'll punch it down your throat.
Yeah. But I want someone who I can share that with, not latch onto to create it for myself.
Yeah.
That's what you want. You want to be able to enhance the other person's life and happiness together, as opposed to, if I could just find one, the one best friend or the one girlfriend or husband or whatever it is, then I'll be happy. And it's like, no, control the controllables, and it kind of always goes back to that. So I think that's all I got today, man. What about you?
I don't know. We covered bum dumps.
Important
we covered
stuff.
Self-help stuff. I do think it's funny, though, that from time to time you talk about baseball on the show, and every time I've been on, 4 or 5 times now, and you never asked me any baseball stuff.
We talked about baseball before.
No, I don't think so.
The first episode, we talked some baseball stuff.
Well, we talked about, like, my baseball. I'm talking about, like Major League Baseball stuff. You've gotten, like, Pete Rose questions on there. You've talked about the Yankees. You've talked about a lot of things.
That's because I want...
It's not going to happen. Give it up.
I want it to be a discussion that starts the fire under your ass to go do baseball.
Well, maybe if I get on a
content.
podcast and we start talking baseball, maybe I'll be like, well, you know what? That was a lot of fun. We should do that again.
Yeah. Well, we will. I haven't forgotten about it. I'm sort of purposely avoiding it because I'm trying to.
Oh, that'll be a 3-hour episode.
Stuff.
I got a lot of grievances.
Right, and I want to talk about that stuff with you for sure. But I also like a lot of other things to talk to you, like about your life and stuff.
It's high on the priority list. We have a lot. That we needed to hit that.
Right, and now it's gone. Now we don't have to discuss it anymore.
I don't know if it's gonna. I think it's gonna come up again in conversation. Also,
if you just call 1-800-TERMINATOR, you can help be part of the solution.
Bum boosters also can lend a helping hand in this.
Yeah.
I feel like we should come up with some sort of game where, like, when we come across a bum dump, we can snap a picture of it and maybe like rate it, like on a scale of 1 to 10. Where does this bum dump land?
Yeah. And we'll put out the scale, what each means on the scale ahead of time.
The tightly round coiledness of it, size.
How long it's been there. Yeah, that's good. What kind of nutrition that person may or may not be getting. So yeah, we'll do that. But yeah, we'll talk. I want to talk about baseball with
Yeah,
you. We could do that like all day long too. So
Sure.
which is exciting. But there's a lot of other important things about you, that I like to tap into too.
Listen.
I think you're a dynamic character in life, and I don't think
I've
enough
seen some
people
things.
realize that.
Yeah,
I
I've got a lot of important things to tell a lot of people.
Right. So the baseball is that to me. That was like that's too easy of a top. Like
I do.
Of course,
wonder,
you get on here. We're going to talk. Why wouldn't we talk about baseball? We played baseball together. But like I said, I think you're a lot more dynamic.
Sure.
And I wanted to tap into that.
And you probably, at least I hope, know your demographic a little bit more. Do a lot of your fans like baseball? Do you know if that's like a major thing that people listen to?
So as far as the popularity goes, when it comes to guest episodes,
where do you think this one will rank? Bum dumps, like how high? Is this like? I don't know if you're getting a lot of intellectuals. I don't know. Like Lex Friedman talks a lot about like artificial intelligence and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This one.
Nah, bum dumps will be pretty popular.
Yeah.
I think so. How can it not?
Hot stoves.
It's popular around here.
Yeah.
So
a little too popular.
Yeah, but when I have baseball players as my guests, like college players, which I haven't had any baseball players that I didn't play with specifically.
Right.
They're always higher up on the viewership, but a lot of times we're not talking about baseball.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like the Bone Crusher, we talk about a lot of different things, wrestling.
Right. Yeah.
Etiquette in all sports kind of thing. Whatever,
I tell you, it's going to be tough to come up with a subject. I mean, you've been hitting it every week without fail for 2 years now.
Yeah, almost.
And you haven't run out of material yet.
Yeah.
I mean, and a lot of these episodes you're doing on your own. I feel like when you have a guest, we can always. I mean, we didn't have a topic to discuss today, and we kind of just turn it on and see what happens.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows, but you get what you get. But like when you're by yourself, it's got to be really difficult to be able to come up with something that you can talk about for 45 minutes to an hour or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I try to, like we discussed this previously, I try to keep things what they call evergreen. Actually, you gave me that term.
Right,
you told me about that evergreen where it's like no matter when you listen to it,
right? It's gonna be.
It's still gonna be either informative, entertaining, whatever the goal of it was.
Right. Because I mean, there's so much material out there. I may not get to. I mean, I listen to LPDS as soon as it drops, but somebody out there is not going to get to it for 6 months.
Yeah.
And you don't want them to listen to be like, well, this doesn't really apply anymore, and turn it off.
It doesn't count anymore. Yeah. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll look at. Sometimes it's easy because there's a current event that happens that's also something that like I know will happen again. That's a recurring event. Like for instance, like elections. I don't talk about those specifically, but that's an example of something that like every 2 years, election is going to be a topic.
Yeah.
So if I can pull a general lesson out of that,
right.
It doesn't matter that I'm talking about a 2020 election or something.
Right.
I'm talking about a lesson, and if it's entertaining enough, then I've
right. You don't talk about the specifics of the event. You talk about like the behavior surrounding.
It brings up that specific current event brought up the idea of this lesson to discuss the lesson at large or whatever, or the funny thing about the generality of it all.
Yeah. Is that what you say LPDS is just like a bunch of lessons that
I think it's becoming that like just a lot of episodes on finding the lesson in everything.
What's the lesson in this episode?
We talked about earlier.
Oh, okay. I keep forgetting. I'm so focused on the dumps, I forgot we even had the second half of that conversation.
Right. Well, even the bum dump discussion that led into the hot stove.
The hot stove, yeah.
I took, for me, that specific lesson of that whole situation was like sort of owning your shit, for lack of a better term.
Be
literally and figuratively, yeah. And then
if you will, and I will.
And I will. And then listening to other podcasts or trying to learn from other people in many different ways, whether it's listening to different people speak or just watching how you thrive in life is like a lesson to me. That's how I learn how to become a better person, maybe, or do something different to be better at something, whatever it may be,
right?
Or avoid something. If I see something that you're doing that I don't particularly like learn how to be more observant to your surroundings and the people that you interact with regularly.
Sure.
Because a lot of the times you're hanging out with your friends or family and you're just alive in the space.
You're not really in it. You're not
in the moment. Yeah. You're not taking it in the moment at all for whatever reason. And
swiping.
Right. So the lesson here is take it in because again, like you just said, we can just be talking about baseball every time we're on here.
Sure.
That's an easy kill.
Right.
But I wanted to get more. Like you're way more than that, and I don't think enough people know that. And that's not I'm not saying like you need to get yourself out there. It's like I think like I want to brag about like this guy is
You're
something
welcome,
else.
folks.
Yeah, this guy's something else. He's not just a pitcher, you know. So
yeah.
But thank you for being on here.
I always enjoy it.
Yeah.
I hope now once you move down here, I mean, hopefully I'm a regular guest. I got to make a run at the title. I know there's been a lot of discussion. Last time you had Crusher on, you guys were already talking about that. I hope I'm in the running.
Yeah, Nicky Sticks has been flying awfully close to the sun, if you will.
Yeah.
Since he put on that Guest of the Year
Yeah,
belt.
we got to take him down a pick or two.
Yeah, so what I think I'll do is I'll probably start I'll figure out how I want to do a bracket of all the guests that have been on this year, and it's been mostly recurring guests.
Right.
But we'll put up a bracket, get the fans' feedback first, and then see if maybe from there do an additional thing. I don't know what it is yet. Just not a competition. I don't know, something that will get more people engaged again, and then we'll kind of crown a champion, if you will.
Yeah.
Belt a champion. So, but you're obviously in the running.
Well, I'm not going to buy votes or anything like that, but shout out to my boy Terrence. Shout out to my boy Dom. Shout
all
out
the
to
top dogs.
Buffalo Tasty. Shout out to all you guys. Tony Sacco. Keep killing it, man. Some people get it, some people don't get it. You definitely get it.
That guy definitely gets it.
He gets it.
Before we go, we got to hit the big three.
Gotta do it.
That's for those of you who are just listening in now, the three pillars of staying strong here at the LPDS and becoming a better, happier, more fulfilling, person or more grateful person. Number one, exercise every day. We got our steps in every day as much as we could just to get the juices flowing. But do whatever you got to do. Jumping jacks, hit the gym, go for a run, a bike ride, whatever it is. Getting that movement in helps you physically, mentally, and emotionally, like your health-wise, your peace of mind, everything. It really is. It's kind of crazy for me, at least, how much that helps me.
Sure.
Even if it's something as simple as getting steps in. Number two is the hardest one. Don't be a shitty person. When you are in a situation where you can choose to be shitty to someone or be nice, take that step back and be the nice person. It's so easy, especially now on the social medias, to go see somebody say something on there that you don't like, and you just fire off a shit talk and a jab, and I showed you and I got them. Don't do it. All you're doing is doubling the negativity that's going on social media or in the world. When you see something negative, don't add to it. Try to put a little bit of positivity and niceness behind it. It's the hardest one to do. It's so easy just to...
Oh, yeah, it's so easy. Yeah. It might not be so easy anymore. I think Twitter's going down the tubes. You might have to find another way of doing it.
To be an asshole, which is fine.
It's a good thing, yeah.
Just don't do it. So number three, the most important one: be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. That is most important to me because I've seen people take for granted the good they have in their lives, and then I've seen that shift in their mindset of when they lose that, and they're like, "Oh my God, why did I take this for granted?"
Sure.
And it's happened to me on several occasions throughout my life. So, all the good shit you have in your lives, whether it's people, things, experiences, cherish that. Take the step back each day. Actively think about those and be grateful that you had those experiences or whatever. Just like this one here.
I'm thankful for you, man.
I'm thankful for you too, and
Thanks.
for you allowing me to take over your humble abode, the dungeon here, and do this. So, thank you for doing this. Thank you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe and do all the how you doing. Spread the good word of the LPDS, so that we can, so that people can be talking about us on their shitty podcasts in the future, and not the other way around. So, thank you guys again. I love you all. Stay strong.